Top Gear tonight, Quentin and I go to Switzerland for the motor show. Doff your caps and tug your forelocks, please. I've driven the new Rolls-Royce. And grown men go crazy in skin-tight leather.
Welcome to the 1998 Geneva Motorshow, where behind me it is wall-to-wall burnished horsepower. But I ask you, what is the point? Because come next week's budget, we'll be paying £4,000 to fill our cars with petrol, £4,000 to stop and park them anywhere, and £4,000 a year in road tax, and they tell us they're not going to build any more roads. What the hell are we doing here?
I'll tell you what we're doing here, Swiss Quentin. You see, Top Gear is no longer simply a British programme. It's shown all over the world, which means, crucially, it's shown in Venezuela, where petrol is less than 40p a gallon. They could afford to run anything here. So, as they say over there, S40E04. This one's for you. The Jaguar XK8, familiar and yet strangely different. Look, new wheels, louvers on the bonnet, a wire mesh grille, a tiny little spoiler on the back. What's going on here? This says it all. Jaguar supercharged. They've put the blown 370 horsepower V8 under the bonnet to create the fastest accelerating Jaguar of all time. Does 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. From 60 to 140, it will annihilate a Porsche 911. Get this, from 140 to 155, it is 50 seconds faster than a standard XK8. Now, the convertible is £66,000, the hardtop is £60,000. Jaguar lovers everywhere are going to adore this, aren't they, Mr. Prescott?
But you know, the problem with the XKR is that it makes this, its sister car, the DB7, look rather expensive and a wee bit pedestrian. But Aston Martin know that, which is why they've got a little trick up their sleeves. Beneath that stunning skin is an aluminium and carbon chassis, a 6-litre V12 and a 6-speed sequential box. Projected speed, 200 miles an hour. This is pant-wettingly gorgeous, but why don't they stop hawking it round the world's motor shows and just get on and build it?
Now, you expect a car like that from Aston Martin, but you do not expect a car like this from Volkswagen. It's mid-engined, it's styled in Italy, it's called the W12 Roadster. Now, it's called the W12 because, as you can see down here, it has two V6 engines nailed together to create 5.6 litres and 420 horsepower. Now, even though this is a complicated, Kevlar, lightweight concept car, I was told last night that it is going into production. In Venezuela, it'll be the new Polo.
But Volkswagen aren't the only car maker who refuses to go all politically correct and go on an economy drive. Behind me is Mercedes' ultimate luxury car for tired tycoons, the Maybach. Now, under normal circumstances, I can be relied upon to be expansive, animated even on the subject of Mercedes-Benz. But on this occasion, words fail me. Mercedes say they'll decide whether to make it in the next few months. It'll probably use a V12, and as for the price, if you need to ask... Perplexing though the Maybach is, it at least offers me one crumb of comfort, and that is, if Mercedes are serious about building this car, they will not be putting an offer in for a certain British luxury car company. Rolls-Royce is being besieged by buyers. Toyota, BMW, Volkswagen, even an ex-boss of Rover. But you know what? The most desirable car name in the world is about to become even more desirable. With all the pomp and circumstance of the trooping of the colour, Rolls launched their new car, the Silver Seraph. Jeremy has driven it.
Here it is, everyone. The BMW 750iL. £75,000 worth of precision engineering. It has a 5.4-litre V12 engine to provide plutocrats with raunchy, Germanic, Euro-conquering power. Inside there is leather, there is wood, there is satellite navigation and a television.
The path is clear, though no eyes can see. The course laid down long before.
This is the car that Rolls-Royce has to beat. And here it comes. Only the 9th new car in Rolls' 92-year history, the Silver Seraph is as British as the Empire, only slightly larger. There is grace here, but it's overpowered by the presence and the majesty. Despite the curved tail and the sleeker front end, despite the fact it's £300 lighter than the old car, it's so very obviously a Rolls-Royce. Or is it? For 30 years, all Rolls-Royces have been propelled along by the same 6.75-litre V8. But not anymore. Now, Rolls-Royce couldn't afford to design their own new engine, so the Silver Seraph uses the same 5.4-litre V12 that you'll find in that BMW. It also uses the same sort of power steering system and the same sort of 5-speed automatic gearbox, though, of course, in the Rolls, the stick is mounted on the steering column. There's lots of BMW switches in there, too. Now, of course, a lot of you will be absolutely horrified by all this, but it's what you do with the components that matters. Don't worry, this is rather more than a BMW with thick carpets. The engine, for instance, has been tuned by Cosworth to give more torque, more low-down grunt than you get in a BMW. But you still have 322 brake horsepower. The Seraph gets from 0 to 60 in less than 7 seconds. And in a few months' time, there'll be a Bentley version called the Anage. It'll have a BMW V8 engine, to which Cosworth have added 2 turbochargers. Expect to see 0 to 60 pass in something of a blur. But that's then, this is now, and this is by far the fastest Rolls-Royce I've ever driven. There's tons of torque too, but it's not the silent shove you might imagine. Now, the old engine was never as quiet as legend suggests, but this new BMW unit, which is quite simple with just 2 valves per cylinder, is always audible. It's not loud, it's just there, like background music. I can forgive this, though, and the accompaniment from the wind section, and even a broken windscreen wiper, because of the way the Seraph handles. The old roller was just awful. It floated and rolled until it went over a pothole. Then the suspension just gave up and went on holiday. This one, though, is a completely different animal. It still rides like the Titanic over any surface you care to mention, but it handles like an MTB. Thanks to adaptive damping, you can drive the old Dowager like petticoats on fire. Basically then, this stunning silver Seraph is now a blend of traditional magic carpet comfort with Germanic get up and go. It's a creme brulee with a lemon twist. I just wish they hadn't served it up in a ramekin. Space in the back is tighter than you might think. I tell you what, with its new small, sporty steering wheel to replace the Baker-like tractor tyre you used to have in the old roller, a lot of owners are going to take up driving. If you're a chauffeur and your boss buys one of these, start job hunting. I have to say, though, that the BMW is even more nimble. And at £75,000, it's less than half the price of the Rolls. It's also better equipped, cheaper to run, and in the back at least, more spacious. In every way, really, this is the better, more sensible car. And yet, by miles, I would prefer the Rolls-Royce. And here's why. What you're looking at here is a Steinway grand piano, which can cost anything up to £200,000. Steinway & Sons was founded at the end of the last century in Manhattan by a German immigrant. Their pianos won awards for engineering excellence, and you can see why when you see how the grain of the spruce wood soundboard runs in line with the strings. It's a technical masterpiece, and yet you'll find the first ever Steinway in New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. This is the BMW 750iL of keyboard instruments. Now, what Rolls-Royce do is take the basic ingredients, the keys, and produce an instrument of real clout. They make an organ. The 12 cows that died to make these seats and this upholstery were raised in northern Scandinavia, where there are no barbed wire fences to nick their precious hides. Just look at the wood on this dashboard. Note how the pattern of the veneer in front of me is exactly matched by the pattern of the veneer in front of the passenger. Now, you get cruise control and traction control, and you can have a fax machine if you want, and a television set, but this is not a branch of Dixon's, this is not the Groucho, this is a gentleman's club with a judge in a wing-back chair by the fire, dead. The Rolls-Royce may be nearly as nice to drive as the BMW, but it's 10 trillion times nicer to drive in. That is a superb car, but you know something? It isn't the star of the show.
This, on the other hand, is. What you're looking at, believe it or not, is the new Ford Escort, only now it's called the Focus. Details are a bit sketchy at the moment, but what we do know is it has independent rear suspension, so it'll be the only car in its class so equipped. It'll be on sale in September. You'll have a choice of 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2-litre and 1.8-litre diesel. And because it's a Ford, it will be sensibly priced to get away. But one thing is absolutely certain. It is gobsmacking gorgeous.
After the Ka and the Puma, we should have been ready for something like this, but I've got to be honest, I wasn't. I can see why they put it in the middle of a lake. It's incredible. I mean, they've completely blitzed the hatchback market at a stroke. They've made the new Volkswagen Golf and the new Vauxhall Astra look Neolithic. That's fantastic.
Now for something even more sensible. This is Daewoo's new small car, the Matiz. 800cc engine between £6,000 and £6,500 and with you in September. But of course, in Venezuela, they are free with cornflakes.
This is the new Renault Clio, and it is all new. New platform, new engine options, new body, new interior. They're even thinking of getting a new girl to advertise it. Janet Street Porter, perhaps. In fact, the only thing that hasn't changed is the price. They say that when it goes on sale in Britain in May, it's going to cost exactly the same as the old model. Meanwhile, Quentin's been out in another new Frenchie, the Citroen Xsara Coupe.
Suddenly, everybody's eyeing up a coupe, and almost every car maker in Europe is fielding swoopy little two-doors, like Citroen, whose latest French fancy is this, the Xsara Coupe. Citroen are calling it the fastest sub-£18,000 coupe you can buy, a statement which worries me rather a lot. Because if you think about it, if that is the best thing that Citroen can find to say about this car, then something must be up. And it is, because this car is ditchwater dull. You buy a coupe and you put up with all that claustrophobia because it turns you on. You look out of the kitchen window in the morning and you think, that looks fit, fancy a drive at that. But with this, you look at it and you think, oh dear. Sure, it's fast. The 17,500 2-litre VTS can hurtle to 137 with 0 to 60 coming up in 8.2, but it's all a bit unruly. The engine booms so much it sounds like a cattle auction. Unless it's a bowling green surface, it rides like a tin tray of crockery. But on the plus side, it does handle quite neatly. Now, I could rattle on about the standard air conditioning, the standard twin and side airbags. I could show you this voluminous boot, the biggest in its class. Look, isn't that lovely? I could mention these rear seats, which for a coupe are surprisingly ample. Or even tell you that it has rain-sensitive automatic windscreen wipers. But I won't, because what I want to show you is the interior ambience of this motor car. Look at this. The inside is as dull as the outside. It is a relentless vista of grey plastic. No lovely design flourishes at all. I'm afraid it's all far too unadventurous.
Tu veux ou tu veux pas?
Citroen say that it'll provide stiff opposition for the VW GTI, Megane Coupe and BMW Compact. Xsara Coupes may start at under 14 grand, but this, the VTS, at 17.5 is too much. That buys you a new shape Golf 16-valve GTI, an Audi A3 1.8S, and even a BMW 3 Series Compact. But for me, the Xsara's greatest offence is that it's a Citroen. The company that gave us the Traction Avant, the 2CV, the DS, the SM, all of them wonderfully quirky and eccentric. But these days it seems that modern Citroens must be sanitised, purged of every atom of eccentricity, which is why I can think of only one word to describe the Xsara Coupe, and that is dreary.
Tu veux ou tu veux pas?
And style is absolutely everything. Take this, it's the new Peugeot 2.0 Heart. Now, if you ignore the funky fold-away roof and the fact that it's the spiritual successor to the 205, you will see that this car looks good enough to eat.
But guess who's brought along the best of the new coupes? Yep, they've done it again. I know this whole programme is starting to sound like a Ford commercial, but this new Cougar is actually quite a car. It's got a hatchback and what look like two usable rear seats. It's got a fantastic body, like a Fiat Coupe in a sharp suit. And it's made in America. Now, the downside of that is that you get a cheap-looking, messy plastic dashboard. The upside is prices should be low. When the car goes on sale in Britain in July, they're talking about £19,000 for the 2-litre and £22,000 for the V6. Really, then, it's ideal for the 40-something man who no longer wishes to wear rubber trousers. This is Castle Combe Circuit. Yes, I know we're going around it the wrong way, but these two won't be. Ex-touring car champion Tim Harvey and Alex Hearn from Performance Bike magazine. They're about to go around the right way. Very fast. We've asked them to make a careful, considered analysis of the best sports bikes that money can buy. But all they want to do is wheelies.
This is Honda's 98 Fireblade, the bike that started it all. It's still a fantastic motorcycle and a very easy bike to ride fast. And probably in 9 out of 10 situations for 9 out of 10 riders.
But it doesn't reach inside and
that's not what we're here for, is it?
No, it's not a sports bike as it was.
We're looking for the ultimate super sports bike.
And it's gone a bit sports tourer now, isn't it, really?
Dare we say a Fireblade is a sports tourer, but
yeah.
They may have softened it up a touch, making it a bit easier to live with. But it's not ready for the rubber knickers and Zimmer frame just yet.
it's always been big here. You know, we're looking for a bike that looks like a Grand Prix motorcycle or a Carl Fogarty's World Superbike.
And you see the way they've kind of, it's fatter here now. It's you know.
Yeah, lardy.
You know, lardy feels
blade.
lardy.
Lardy
Yeah.
blade.
Good thing about Fireblades is they work just as well on one wheel as two.
I don't like the colour either.
Do you think?
No.
A bit boring.
Let's move on to something else.
I'm riding Kawasaki's 1998 ZX9R. This is Kawasaki's second attempt to beat the all-dominant Honda Fireblade in the sales war for the over 750 superbike class.
Bland styling. Ever so bland styling.
Bland. They've touted it as a real predator. They want to turn it into a shark. He wants a fin.
Yeah.
And he wants teeth painted on this grille here because this bike is here because it's after the Fireblade.
I mean, this is good. This is where you want to be, isn't it, on a bike? But you wouldn't buy it for the looks, would you?
No, you
Goodness
wouldn't.
me, they
No,
had
it is bland.
I think they had a styling bypass.
The bike is almost too smooth and too comfortable to frighten you. Come on, frighten me!
How much power's this got then?
127 brake horsepower at the back wheel.
Yeah. That's a couple of Fiestas worth then.
It is a couple of Fiestas worth, and it's got ram air as well, which helps it.
But we want more, don't we?
We want more.
We want more.
We want a lot more.
So where are we going to go to get more then?
Begins with Y and ends in A.
Now I'm riding the fabled Yamaha R1, a bike that's had more hype than the Spice Girls. And I'm going to find out why.
This almost rewrites the rules of sports bikes more than the Blade did in '92.
It's true, as the Blade came in and moved it all on, this has come in again and just gone to the lot of minute, really.
The whole thing, you sit on it and the handlebars are below the top yokes. Yeah. It's right down like this. It's like the front, look at that, it's like a Grand Prix 500
Backs
bike.
up, fronts down.
It's fantastic.
The 150 mile an hour, just squeezing the throttle open. And I've got 2 more gears to go. This bike produces as much horsepower as a BMW 320 injection, and that's in a bike that weighs 177 kilos. Now that's got to be so much fun, it's illegal! Yeah!
I've never ridden or driven anything, perhaps bar a McLaren F1, that accelerated so fast.
It'll do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, I love it. I love it.
The only problem you have is keeping the front wheel on the ground.
Yeah, I noticed
It'll be
that. I have my face right over the front here, and I was still having trouble over the bumps.
It's mad. I don't know how Yamaha have got away with it, really.
This is what a sports bike should feel like. The nearest thing to a race bike you can buy.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, M5. 400 horsepower. I love cars that have got 400 horsepower. Oh.
Further down the aspirational ladder is Lexus, who've launched their new challenger for the BMW 3 Series. Called the IS200, it'll be here in spring '99 for around £20,000 sterling.
Splash rainbows. Perhaps someone you know could sparkle and shine.
For ZZ Top fans everywhere, this is Chrysler's latest concept car, the Pronto Cruiser. Redolent of a 40s hot rod, I asked Chrysler's chairman whether he was going to build it or not, and all he said was, "We don't do these sort of things for fun." I think it's great. Car styling is what this is all about. Jeremy, on the other hand, hates it because it's got a 1.6-litre BMW engine. So there.
I still can't believe that Quentin likes that ghastly Chrysler. This is so much better. It has British styling, it has a British engineered 2-litre turbo engine, and look at this gear lever. Do that to go up, and that to go down. Fabulous thing. Built by Hyundai in Korea, the people who brought us the Lantra.
All sights of sleigh rides in seasons, where feelings, not reasons, can make you decide.
My favourite car of the entire show has to be a Mercedes, but just not any Mercedes. This is a Brabus EV12, which to you and me is an E-Class Merc with a veritable rhino of an engine stuffed under the bonnet. 7.3 litres, 48 valves, V12, 208 miles an hour, and 60 in a smudge over 4 seconds. All of which means that this is the fastest saloon car in the world. And if we lived in Venezuela, this is what we'd use to go shopping.
But we don't, Quentin. We live in England, which is why we're all going to have one of these. It's the Nissan Morphy Richards. You simply drive it home at night, open the bonnet, and you plug it in, and hey presto, have a toaster. It has an automatic gearbox, air conditioning, a thick, thin slice detector, and it's the end of the programme. So, I'm going to have some toast and some cheese.